I want to watch this.
1970s, it's been... This is an F-16 fighter jet. Since the 1970s, it's been a cornerstone of the U.S. Air Force. Now the U.S. allows all these militaries to also have F-16s. And since Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been begging for them.
Zelensky has been doubling down on his request for
NATO jets.
And they really are pleased for fighter jets.
But for Ukraine, the U.S. hasn't been as generous.
You don't think he needs F-16s now?
No, he doesn't need F-16s now.
And that might be surprising, because the U.S. has already given nearly $47 billion in military aid to Ukraine over the past year. That's a lot of weapons. Far more than it gave even some of its closest allies in 2020.
Jesus.
And more than 4 times what it gave Afghanistan's army at the height of the U.S.-led war there.
This is a historic number that you would see typically the U.S. military give to another country over decades.
Dude, people can afford to fucking have a hospital ride or fucking call an ambulance when the motherfuckers. Okay, I'm not gonna.
U.S. refusing to send F-16s is a choice worth understanding, because the weapons that the U.S. has and hasn't chosen to send Ukraine, and when they've sent them, have helped shape each phase of this war. So
you know when people say like, yo, I drank paper straws for this. This is like, I drove myself to the hospital for this shit. I feel like, but I don't know. What do I know?
And why?
How's that a bad take? How's that a bad take?
53-month streaks.
Back in 2014, Russia took over Crimea and parts of eastern Ukraine with the help of Ukrainian separatist fighters.
In 2014, Ragtag wouldn't even describe the state of the Ukrainian armed forces.
This is Jack Detch, Foreign Policy's U.S. national security reporter.
They'd been gutted.
Because one thing you're gonna realize is you cannot have it both ways. Okay, we cannot have it both ways. This is all military spending, and people are always like, yo, dude. Stop military spending. Stop military spending. Invest in this, and people get mad about the U.S. spending, right? And then when it's time to when shit happens in the world, yo, help this, help that, help this, help that. Like, bro,
NHL 22 stream win.
Well, what do you want? Do you want U.S. to be a super
2-year
a super military force that can help others, or do you want them to not be able to help? Like, what you can't have both ways. If you're gonna complain, you can't. Like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense.
By years of neglect,
it's hypocritical.
A lot of the troops didn't have uniforms. Some of them didn't have hot food.
Ukraine's leaders asked the U.S. for help, but President Barack Obama...
Why do you think other countries don't give their fucking jets and shit like that? Because they're broke. Their military force is nothing, right? Like, unfortunately, guys, I didn't study a lot of war, just a little bit, okay? Somebody has to have some sort of force. So somebody has to have a fucking some sort of military force that's good and prominent. Just how it is. It's like the Cold War. It's not the fact, bro. Everybody has fucking nuclear bombs and shit, motherfucker. Right? It's like the Cold War.
xQc,
right? It's knowing that they can do it. It's knowing that they can launch a missile, or they can reach a certain distance, or they've done the tests and they're able to reach long distances with the fucking nuclear warheads or whatever. It's not that they're gonna do it; they could. That's how it is, right?
Obama only sent protective gear and supplies, not weapons.
I mean, not true.
In 2018, President Donald Trump...
Why? I have told this a million times before. Why the fuck do you think we went to the moon? There's nothing to do on the fucking moon. The moon is boring as shit. The moon is a dog shit. Why did we go to the moon? Bro, it was a time of war. It was a Cold War with fucking USSR, Russia. I don't want to call it. Yeah, I know about this shit. Bro, I studied this shit. Okay? It was just to have air superiority, and so it showed an advantage. It'd be like, yo, dude. These days, the way you launch missiles like that and nuclear bombs is not through a normal rocket that goes through the air. You send them through space. That's how that works. And going to the moon is like, yo, dude, we got the big dick of space shit. If you want to reach your shit and want to send a missile, well, we can, because look, boom. That's what went to the moon. Like, are you fucking stupid? That's the whole point of it. I'm gonna sign this. That's just the truth, though. Oh my God!
Agreed to send a limited number of anti-tank missiles called Javelins, but the Ukrainian army was still woefully unprepared if Russia decided to escalate the conflict. which it did. In 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Russian jets and missiles were doing immense damage from the air, and Russian tanks were pushing Ukraine's troops backwards. Ukraine, again, asked the US for help.
From the beginning of the war, the Ukrainians wanted a lot of the things that you see on the menu right now. They wanted F-16s, they wanted main battle tanks. So they wanted this stuff from the get-go.
President Joe Biden agreed to send a large package of weapons, but it mainly included the smaller and relatively unsophisticated kinds. The US sent more javelins, plus ammunition, guns, and even some anti-aircraft missiles called Stingers. And many US allies sent similar types.
You don't have to tell me what the... Hey, I played Call of Duty 4, I played Call of Duty...
And even some anti-aircraft missiles called
I know what that is. You don't have to fucking tell me the name of what it does, motherfucker.
And
I know my
many
shit.
US allies sent similar types of weapons. Germany sent 1,000 anti-tank missiles and 500 Stingers. Belgium sent 2,000 machine guns. But no one sent their advanced battle tanks or fighter jets.
The big question in the beginning of the war was not...
That's a stock M16. In COD, it's locked at 3 bullet fire, but I do believe that
not
normally
just
it's not
what
like
the
that.
U.S. was going to send. I mean, the question was, like, are these guys going to fight? Certainly, that's been a resounding yes.
Ukraine soldiers used anti-aircraft missiles to prevent Russian aircraft from controlling the skies. And they used the guns, ammo, and anti-tank weapons to halt Russia's progress. Like in this video, which shows Ukrainian soldiers destroying dozens of Russian tanks approaching Kyiv. But even though the Ukrainians were using these weapons well, the US hesitated to send it more advanced equipment.
So the U.S. has been concerned at almost every step about the potential for Russia escalating the conflict.
The US worried that Ukraine might use some of these advanced weapons, like fighter jets or long-range missiles, to strike inside Russia, sparking an escalation. This concern would come to define how the US supplied Ukraine.
Armata!
In the spring of 2022, the war entered.
I mean, would they get the support of the people? The people that are hurt and the people that are surely mauled, that they got invaded, would they support the retaliating like that? Is that
its second phase? Russia and Ukraine's armies weren't moving as much anymore, and instead began pounding each other with artillery. Russia was firing a staggering 60,000 rounds a day, while Ukraine could only manage to fire around 6,000. And it was quickly running low. But the US was still hesitating to expand the scope of its support.
They're looking at what's kind of on the Christmas wish list and deciding what's actually prudent to give.
Finally, in April 2022, the US agreed to send Ukraine its own artillery. And like in the first phase of the war, a number of allies then sent their own artillery, even though some had wanted to do it earlier.
You sort of saw folks in...
Yo, is Europe that poor that they don't have that much to like give it? Because yo, they're right there. They're right there. They could roll them in, walk them in. They could deliver them to trucks and shit. Instead, the US has to fucking fly them out. But that shit must be expensive as fuck, man. Bro, to get these mega carrier airplanes to lift all this shit in London over there. What the fuck?
Saw folks in Europe wanting the U.S. to lead, but sometimes the U.S. still very much deep in deliberation mode.
The most important...
They don't spend billions on the weapons, but listen, maybe I'm dumb about this, and I don't know anything about the world, okay? But I think somebody has to spend on this shit then, okay? What's a bit about this history, you know? What happens if nobody spends on any military whatsoever? Just a tiny bit, just for basic shit, right? And then superpower Andy fucking China has like 1,000 ships, and they decide to do whatever they want. What is that to fucking get Taiwan? And who the fuck is gonna help? The muskets from fucking UK, bro. The rocks from France or the fucking knives from London. Like, who the fuck is gonna help?
Important weapon the US sent were called HIMARs. Powerful rocket launchers that could hit targets as far as 80 kilometers. They weren't powerful enough to strike inside Russia, but they did enable Ukraine to hit Russian supply depots and command posts far behind its front lines, which forced the Russians to move them back, weakening its troops at the front. That's how Ukraine captured the Kharkiv region in September and the major city of Kherson in November. And by then, a new phase was beginning.
Guys, I'm not even American. I'm from Canada. Okay? I'm Canadian. I have no dog in this fight. I just love pointing the hypocrisy of people when it comes to like politics and war. I think people are so fucking brain dead. Bro, how do I know more about some idiot Canadian than most motherfuckers. I don't get it.
In winter 2023, both sides
I
were
don't.
planning
Oh,
new
I
attacks.
don't.
Russia was gearing up to push further into the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, but Ukraine also wanted to take back territory, particularly in the south. In order to do this, Ukraine would need to move troops quickly, which requires armored vehicles, like tanks, something it had been asking for months. Some countries had sent older models of tanks, but just like with artillery, the US waited.
They wanted the Germans to act first by sending Leopard battle tanks. The Germans were waiting for the United States to give them some political top cover here, a little bit of a game of chicken.
Finally, in January 2023, the
game of
UK
chicken.
and then the US agreed to send their advanced tanks.
Bro, I thought if the US got into this war, whatever, and they fully helped, whatever, it's like some NATO thing, like, and then it's gonna get crazy. It's like a world war.
Prompting Germany and several allies to follow with their best battle tanks. Just like with anti-tank missiles and HIMARs before,
I'm pretty sure if they went all full dick mode and took like 50 fucking F-16 jets and they went to wipe out the whole fucking squaddy up in his bitch, that is just fucking World War III, man.
the US and its allies are hoping that these tanks can push Ukraine to win some decisive victories in this phase, which is where we are now.
If the Ukrainians kind of can't turn the tide, turn the balance right now, it's going to be tricky to see, how this doesn't go into an extended stalemate.
That's why Ukraine is still asking for fighter jets. F-16s could protect Ukraine's tanks from Russian aircraft, making their attack much more powerful. Ukraine has also been asking the US for long-range missiles called ATACMS, which it could use to strike Russian positions as far as 300 kilometers behind their lines. Already a few allies are in favor of sending these weapons, but as of this video, the US is hesitating over familiar concerns.
Questions about their readiness for training on those. Also, of course, just the question again, how far are the Ukrainians going to fire these things?
So far, none of the decisions to send any of these weapons has inspired Russia to escalate. And in March, Poland and Slovakia agreed to send some of their older fighter jets, making the
UK special forces are the best in the world. Europe could beat any army in the world apart from the US. Special forces. Oh my god, bro. Oh my god, man.
eventual approval of F-16s or long-range missiles more of a possibility. But after giving Ukraine over $46 billion in military aid,
what are they
public
gonna do,
opinion in the
dude?
US is
Start
changing.
throwing cheese on fucking.
A recent Pew Research poll
beans
shows the
on
portion of
toast.
people who believe the US has sent too much aid to Ukraine has grown, particularly on the right.
Biden facing a lot of pressure, not only within his party, but of course from Republican rivals getting ready for the 2024 debate stage. That's going to make it much more difficult for President Biden to sustain this clip.
And even if Biden maintains popular support to send weapons, he might not have enough. A recent analysis found that certain supplies may be approaching the minimal level that the US requires for its own war planning. It's why the US is now focusing on ways to
Here's
increase
the 50
production of
months.
weapons at
Let's
home,
get the
in allied
juice
countries and in
XQC
Ukraine. But just building those plants could take years. 1 year of US and allied support has helped transform the Ukrainian army into a formidable
is your
force,
editor
whose
watching
soldiers
these
have
actors
repeatedly
tick
held
off
its ground
lines?
against a much larger Russian army. But with both the battlefield and US politics changing, the questions now are how well is Ukraine going to fight with what they have, and how much more US help can they count on?
32 months.
Thanks for watching this episode of Vox Atlas. Vox has been covering the war in Ukraine since
Republicans wants to fight their own war. Democrats wants to have other people fight. Okay, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think I've learned in recent
We're
times
going to get
American
nuked
politics
without
are
being
fucking
welcomed
brain
to the
rot.
jungle feels bad, man.
Chat, what's up? Like this chat. I think it's Tommy's team.
Yo, this is X on the beat, yo. Okay.
My voice as well.
That ass. Anyone knows that boy? I don't know, he's just so soy. Anyone knows that boy? I don't know, he's just so soy.